I just want to welcome everybody. My name is Ron Jones, and I'm from Jones Business Solutions. And thrilled that you're here. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to unpack 5 of the most common, but could be most expensive mistakes companies make when expanding internationally. And if global growth is on your radar, you are exactly in the right place. It's going to be a good morning of learning. Of course, where you're at, it may be afternoon. See, some of you are from Ukraine. And I want to remind people that we're taking questions. Questions and answers can be put in the chat screen over there. At the end of the session, I'll try to go over some of those today. So please be sure to put in the chat any questions you have along the way. Also, want to point out, unfortunately, there's a small glitch on the PowerPoint slides, and the email address you see is incorrect for me. And our chat administrator will update and put the correct email address in the chat so that you have it. But we can move on to the next slide, where we have our QR codes, both for LinkedIn and website. On those, you'll be able to connect with me there. So look forward to having you connect. Follow me on LinkedIn, follow my business there, and also be able to connect by the website. So let me take you back to 2015. I was helping a startup in Ukraine enter the Middle East market, and they had funding, they had a team, they had a solid product. But 2 months in, the entire deal stalled because, not because of their product, but because they didn't understand how things actually work on the ground, politically, culturally, legally. And we end up losing weeks. We lost trust, and I'll be honest, we almost lost the entire deal. And that experience has kind of shaped what I do today. As founder of Jones Business Solution, over the last 30 years, I've worked across North America, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe, helping businesses like yours avoid costly expansion mistakes and building smart, scalable cross-border strategies. I'm not an academic. I'm a practitioner. I'm one who's been on the ground closing deals, fixing up messes, learning exactly how expansion can go sideways. And although international growth can sound exciting, new markets, new customers, new opportunities, it can also be expensive, slow, and frustrating if you don't know what you're walking into. So today, I want to help you avoid those 5 most common or costly mistakes and things that trip up normal, well-meaning companies. And if you've ever thought you want to go global, this is going to help make sure that you actually are. By the end of the time today, I want you to get clear awareness of what could go wrong before it does, practical insights that you can apply immediately, an international expansion readiness checklist. And if you'd like to go further, I'll offer you a free 20-minute strategy call to help you think through your next steps. Mistake number 1, we're going to get jumped right in here because we want to get through these in 30 minutes, and that is expanding without a strategic map. There's a saying in aviation: if you take off without a flight plan, don't be surprised if you crash. The same is true in global business. Too many companies leap into the new market assuming what will work at home or what worked at home is going to work abroad. But every market has its own terrain, its own peculiarities, its own uniqueness. There's no map, there's no milestones, and you're moving ahead with just momentum only. That's going to be dangerous. So let's talk about what happens when expansion is driven by assumptions instead of strategies. There's some key symptoms with this mistake. Let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever launched a product or a service and just assumed that the same approach would work in that new region? It's incredibly common. In fact, I've seen talented, hardworking companies like yours and other entrepreneurs hit that brick wall. How do you spot this early on? Well, you'll hear things like, "Oh, we'll just copy and paste what we did at home," or "It's okay, the legal department's going to figure this out later." Those are red flags, okay? And here's another one I hear too, and you'll say, "Oh, we'll just tweak the website later once we get set up and get a few orders in." And you know, that one sounds harmless, but it reveals a deeper issue. that you're launching without doing real customer discovery of your local market. How does your customers communicate? How do they view things? What branding appeals to them? Where do they shop, right? If your messaging, your pricing, position aren't tailored, you're flying blind. And these are bright red flags. Let me share an example with you. One of my clients, Sylvia, she was a passionate entrepreneur in Ukraine. And in Kyiv, she had built a boutique meal delivery service for a meal delivery business that offered these gourmet, made from scratch meals with regional Ukrainian flavors in them. And she catered primarily to a niche clientele, those affluent expats and busy professionals who valued quality and convenience. Her business was running well. It was well branded. It was efficiently run. It was profitable. She had loyal clients. It was a legitimate growing business. She later relocated to the US, and Sylvia decided she wanted to launch the same concept here, the same dishes, the same format, same branding. And she assumed that the success that she had in Ukraine was going to naturally translate, but it didn't. That regional Ukrainian menu, it didn't really connect with her US market. Those ingredients here were more expensive. And the US customers were already flooded with meal delivery options, many of them focused on health conscious, locally sourced fusion type meals. She didn't identify who her new target market was. And the expat niche where she thrived in Ukraine just didn't exist the same way here in the new market. And although her pricing and strategy was strong back home, she was missing the mark with her new audience. And despite her efforts, her business struggled, not because she wasn't capable, not because the food wasn't excellent, not because she didn't have wisdom, but because she lacked a strategic plan tailored to the local market. So, what are the key takeaways when we look at that mistake? Well, here's what it's all about. That mistake is about expanding without a strategic map. The myth is we say, hey, if it works there, if it works here in my local market, it's going to work there. The reality is markets don't just change, not just the location. Everything changes: the buyer, the pricing, the platform, the packaging. So our key takeaway here is that copy paste expansion doesn't work. You got to localize your strategy or you're going to risk failure. The truth is this: stats tell us 64% of all international launches that fail in year one cite this exact issue as the root cause because they didn't know what they were walking into. They didn't have the strategy. So here at JBS, our value is we help businesses create right-size expansion roadmaps instead of guessing that they are actually on the ground gaining traction from day one. Most firms guess their way into a new region. We help hand you a line of sight roadmap built on real local intel before you spend one single expansion dollar. One of the ways we do this is a package just to make you aware of. It's called our market readiness assessment. I'm going to share with you a few different things, packages we do here. This has been very helpful for certain markets that we work in and with certain clients. Includes setting up and figuring out where you are in your readiness and how we need to start going about expanding into that new market. So we do an interview, we do a call, we produced a market readiness report, going over things like your SWOT analysis, a legal and tax overview of where you're headed, a readiness score, some cultural watch points, and our recommendation for you. And then we follow up with a joint conference meeting at the end of those findings. Maybe something that you'd be interested in taking advantage of. And you can connect with me. Again, the correct email address is in the chat screen. And you'll also want to check us out on the website. So let's move on to mistake number two. Mistake number two is ignoring regulatory realities. You've identified your market, you've got a great product, you're even talking with partners on the ground, and then everything grinds to a halt because something you didn't see hits you. Regulatory red tape. That's one of the most expensive, frustrating mistakes companies make, and it happens all the time. The assumption is, hey, our product's working here in Europe, it's going to be fine in the US. We'll just sign the distributor form and the distributor will figure out all the legal stuff later on the ground. That doesn't happen easily. What we run into quite often is compliance pitfalls. Every region has different rules, and when you ignore them, here's what can happen. Shipments can get stuck at customs, products can get flagged for non-compliance, tax authorities come knocking on your door wondering where their taxes are. And quite honestly, the hardest one is your reputation takes a hit in that new market before you even get started. Let me give you a real world example that I've seen repeatedly. There was a medical company in Europe, we're just going to call them Nova MedTech. They were doing well across the EU, and then they decided to enter the US market. They assumed that their CE certifications would be enough. They found a US distributor, they translated their documents, they shipped their first order into New Jersey, and then came the surprise. FDA flagged their entire shipment for lacking 501(k) clearance, a specific pre-market approval that's required in the US to bring those products in. In addition, the labeling on the packages didn't meet standards here. The shipment was held up. The distributor who was waiting on the product here in the US lost confidence, and the entire launch was delayed. They assumed, rightfully or incorrectly, that launching and working in Europe was going to be the same way in the US, that they didn't need to figure out the regulatory roadmap here. It nearly derailed their expansion. So here's a simple way we avoid this mistake. I call it regulatory readiness check. Entity, are you legally registered to do business in the region? Does your product meet local safety packaging and compliance standards? Processes, do you have the right tax IDs, the right banking, the right reporting systems in place? If you can't answer yes to all three, you're not ready yet. Listen, even Ford makes mistakes like this. The big company Ford, back in the late 80s and 90s, Ford Motor Company was importing auto parts into the US, but they didn't properly report the full value of those parts to US Customs. They were using something we call provisional pricing, and in the end, they didn't disclose all of their changes, all of their engineering changes. And what sounded like a minor paperwork issue, it wasn't. The courts found that Ford was grossly negligent for failing to comply with custom rules, and the result was $20 million in fines and penalties. It can happen. It can happen even to some of the best and strongest companies. So what's the takeaway for mistake number 2? You don't need to be a legal expert, but you do need a plan. One missing certificate can immobilize your inventory at 60 to 90 days stuck in customs. Each market has its own rule books, and retrofits take 3 to 5 times more to fix than to get it right from the beginning. One of the things we do here at JBS is I help clients build compliant, scalable structures from the start, especially in markets like the US, the Arab Gulf, and India, where one wrong step can delay your operation by months. So we don't just tell you what what forms to file. We guide you through the process, entry strategy, product compliance, tax IDs. So we help you avoid these costly surprises, because compliance isn't just about avoiding fines. It's about protecting your reputation, your timeline, and your partnership. Okay, mistake number 3, the third critical mistake. And I want to remind you, just again, if you have questions that you want me to cover, be sure to put them in the chat screen on the side. Third critical mistake that we see far too often is choosing the wrong entity or structure for your international expansion. At first, it sounds like just a legal or administrative detail, right? But I can tell you the wrong entity choice can quietly cost your company thousands, even millions over time, because your entity isn't just paperwork. It determines how you're taxed, how you distribute profits, how much liability you carry personally, and how fast you can scale later on. So what's the strategic list with this mistake? What can go wrong? Well, here's what can happen. You can get double taxed, once locally, and then when you bring the profits back home. You can also limit your ability to raise capital or bring in partners. It also creates hidden personal liabilities that you never intended. And you have to spend a lot of time and money restructuring later. I've seen smart companies stuck with the wrong setup for years, and they're bleeding money because they don't even realize it until it's too late. Let me ask you this. Are you choosing your international entity based upon a long-term strategy where you see your company heading, or just what's the easiest, what's the quickest that we can get into the market? Because what's easy today might be very expensive tomorrow. Let's move ahead to the key strategic considerations when we look at these different markets. The US entity options on slide 20. In the US, we have three main entities that are available to you as a foreigner: the LLC, the S Corp, and the S Corp. The C Corp, uh, the C Corp makes sense if you're seeking investors. The S Corp works well if you want to have a pass-through taxation and want to limit the effect of taxes on your business. The LLC offers you a lot of flexibility. Downside is you can end up with some self-employment taxes that you weren't expecting. All of these entities are available here to you in the U.S., but we want to help guide you through that when we look upon your long-term strategy, where you want to head in the U.S. And by the way, that's why we work with local partners on the ground. We work with lawyers like Andre Fedician. He's in Poland, a partner of ours, as well as Khalid El Sajale. He's in Oman and helps him with our Arab world expansion. These gentlemen I've known for years, and we can work with choosing the right structure and getting it registered properly from day one. That's the US market, and you're going to get these slides just so you know, so you don't have to read through them all. The Arab market, you got a lot of other potentials there. In the Arab Peninsula, you have free zones, free trade zones. You have mainland onshore companies, and you have branch offices, or what they call representative offices. Okay, the free trade zones are quite popular, especially in UAE, where they allow you 100% ownership. So you don't have to have a national partner, but you must operate inside that free trade zone or export everything you do, right? If you want to go into that local market, you're going to need to get a local distributor or local agent to sell directly into that country. And the great thing is, in a free trade zone, taxes are typically at 0%. The mainland shore companies, we see them across the Arab Peninsula. Foreign ownership, 100% foreign ownership usually is not allowed. Some countries are making changes with that, so there's some possibilities there, but you may need an on-the-ground partner. The great thing is you can do business anywhere in that country, but of course, then you're subject to taxes. And then there's a branch and a representative office. They're available in quite most all Arab Gulf countries. You cannot really do any business, but you can use it to do marketing, promotion, but you're not legally able to trade or sign contracts, things like that. India has its own entity structures, slightly different. Private limited companies, liaison office and branch office are two different types within India. And there's the limited liability partnership. All of this can be overwhelming. You have enough to do just running your business and looking at expansion. We work alongside you to get through these big decisions. So we want to help you make the correct decision for the market you're going into. So what's the key takeaway for mistake number 3? Really, making a bad entity decision isn't just a tax issue, it's a growth limiter. Smart expansion is built on a smart foundation, and getting your structure right from the beginning makes every step easier, faster, and more profitable. When you choose your structure right from the start, correctly from the start, you expand smart and with flexibility and protection built in. At JBS, I'm going to help you. We're going to help you choose that right entity, not based on what's easiest today, but based on what's smartest for where you want to go. And that way you don't just launch, but you launch with confidence. I help companies avoid those traps. I match structure to vision, not just what's fastest or cheapest. Because if you're going to put in the work and risk to expand internationally, you deserve to build on a foundation that's going to actually support you. Mistake number 4, we're moving through now. Hey, understanding cultural and relationship dynamics. This is very subtle. You're like, well, this is not $1 dollar and cent problem. This is not a profit problem, but hey, this is one of the most devastating that you can miss. Under underestimating the cultural dynamics in the country you're going to, because products don't close deals, strategies don't sign contracts, people do. And when you move into a new region, if you don't understand how people build trust, how they negotiate, how they say yes, your expansion can stall and you don't even know what's going on. You're wondering why things aren't functioning the same way. It's because you're a different culture. International business isn't just business, it involves human beings. What are the cultural risks you can run into? Great deals, critical deals can stall when trust hasn't been established. Rush negotiations offend partners, destroy opportunities. Missteps in negotiation, like rushing, pushing, or being overly transactional, you can offend your local partner. I'll give you an example here in just a minute. Sometimes a yes may actually mean maybe, or even a polite refusal. Relationships can dry up when they aren't nurtured properly. And all too often, when you run into this cultural barrier, you won't hear no, you'll just hear silence, and you'll wonder what happened. I once advised a U.S. company while they were expanding into the Middle East, they had a fantastic proposal for a local distributor. The pricing, the supply chain, everything looked great on paper, but here's where it fell apart. They sent that formal contract proposal before ever meeting with that local distributor face to face. They thought, in a typical U.S. mindset, which is very transactional, they thought, well, yeah, we're going to meet up with them, but we need to keep this ball rolling. We need action, and so we'll send the contract out, and then we'll meet up with them later. They sent the contract with no relationship, no trust, no respect for those cultural norms, and the local partner just went silent. You see, that culture that they're moving into is a classic non-confrontational. So he wasn't going to respond to them. He wasn't going to say no. He was going to just go silent on them. And they didn't lose out because of price. They lost out because they treated a relationship-driven market like a transactional one. You see, relationships are critical, and in some parts, they delay. Some markets, delaying relationships signals disorganization or lack of seriousness. In other markets, it's a necessary step to building true business. What are some critical clues that I've seen working across the U.S. Gulf and India? Well, trust comes before transaction. Patience signals respect. Relationship building is not a step, it's a process. If you don't adapt to how people make decisions culturally, it doesn't matter how great your product is, you'll be out before you even know what happened. Real simply, here's what I've seen. In the Gulf region, business happens at the speed of trust, not the speed of email. And in India, relationships may open that door, but it's patience and persistence that close the deal. So what's our key takeaway from mistake number 4? Well, a lot of times there's this myth that a translator that can translate the contracts, or a consultant, he can just bridge all those cultural gaps. The reality is your cultural IQ, your cultural intelligence is strategic, not transactional. Leaders who model curiosity and respect win trust and market share. So cross-border success isn't just about a smart strategy. It's also about culturally relevant relational intelligence. At JBS, we help clients succeed not only legally and financially, but relationally. We help prepare companies for the human side of international business. Not just because it's not just about expanding globally, it's about connecting meaningfully. So I don't help clients just set up the legal side, we help them navigate the human side. One of the things we do is we offer foreign market business culture training. We help you avoid those mistakes, local business culture, customs, negotiation tactics, etiquette. And we package that into a virtual delivery of Zoom, where we do a 1-hour presentation based upon a specific country where you may be going into. And we do some pre-work before that training so that the people attending know where they stand as far as what their cultural viewpoint is. And we give you some takeaways. It may be something that you want to take advantage of, and you can consider that here in the future. All of these packages are listed on my website, which you'll be able to connect to here in just a little bit as well. Mistake number 5, we're at the end. Mistake number 5 is where the rubber meets the road. And sometimes it's where companies quietly run out of fuel. The financial and banking setup gaps. You might have a perfect plan, you might have the right entity, you even have the relationships down. But if you fail at moving your money, you're going to fail in business. Expansion is fueled by cash flow. And it's can be complex. The different banking systems, the currency movements, the tax systems, it can choke your growth. So what are some financial setup gaps I've seen? Well, delays in opening bank accounts. Sometimes it can take 3 to 6 months, and if your bank account isn't open, customers can't pay you. You have an inability to invoice or collect payments because the local tax laws are blocking your business system. Currency fluctuations can destroy your margins, and tax withholding surprises when you repatriate your profits back home. You can end up losing a chunk in unexpected fees and taxes. Expansion dies not because you just have no customers, but it could die because you can't access your cash flow. So let's look at a financial readiness checklist. Before you expand, ask yourself, do you have a local business account set up and verified? Can you invoice and collect payments legally in that market? Do you have a currency management system? Are you prepared for the taxes when you repatriate your profits back home? Or are you clear on how taxes are going to be applied to those profits? We want you to be able to confidently say yes to all 4 so that you build your financial foundation strong. Key takeaways for number 5 is the reality is it's like this, guys. Expansion without cash flow, it's just an expensive hobby. And banking, payment systems, currency systems, they're not side issues. They're your lifeline. So at JBS, we help clients prepare for the financial systems and banking setups that they need to keep their expansion alive. We keep you moving. One of the other packages we offer is like a competitor and pricing analysis report that also helps to meet some of these gaps we see. And this is something when you're moving into a market, you want to know where you stand against your competitors. You want to know where your pricing needs to be. And so we will walk into a market with you and we'll provide you a profile of your top 3 to 5 competitors, pricing analysis, our strategic recommendations for where you need to be, and even providing a summary deck and an implementation workshop. We can do a little or a lot. A lot of things can come with that report. So that's all up to you. It's available to you if you're interested. So here's the summary of the 5 mistakes, what we've covered today. A smart market entry strategy is important. Regulatory compliance is necessary. Entity structuring is wise when you approach it from a long-term perspective. Cultural intelligence is essential, and financial readiness is just basics. We need to keep the money moving. I hope those were great lessons for you today. But the final takeaway is we've covered a lot of stuff today. If there's one thing I hope you take away, it's this. International expansion isn't about moving faster. It's about moving smarter. It's about having the right roadmap before you leave home. It's about building relationship bridges, not burning them. And it's about setting up financial systems to keep that momentum flowing. So here's a slide I want to invite you to consider. If you're thinking of expansion, if you've already started expansion, if it's a long off dream, I want to invite you to consider taking advantage of this free 20-minute strategy session. No sales pitch, no pressure, just real actionable advice one-on-one with me. You can set up your meeting here at this QR code, and the link is also in the chat screen. It's to my Calendly, and you can set up a meeting with me, free 20-minute session, and we can talk about how we can help you move forward in that. One last thing I'm really excited about. Here's a new service we just rolled out. I won't spend a lot of time on it because time's run away today. But we have set up the Global Business Pathway. And this is for international entrepreneurs, business owners who just say, hey, I have always dreamed of moving into the US market. I want to open a business in the US. And maybe I also want to come and live in the US. Well, we can do that through setting up a business here and applying for an E2 visa. And so we walk with you through this process, helping get your business set up, your banking set up to do all the all the analysis we need to do to make sure you're legal, you're financially sound, and you're ready to go operationally. So we can be your trusted partner, getting step-by-step guidance along the way. It's called the Global Business Pathway, and really look forward to having you join us on that. So, lastly today, I just want to share one more time our links for our LinkedIn. I would love for you to follow our business there. Our 20-minute scheduling for 20-minute strategy calls, as well as our website. And remember, the correct email address is in the chat screen, and you can contact me via the website or via LinkedIn. And we're so glad that you could join us today. Just give another minute. Is there any other questions that we may have while we finish up? Just be sure to put them in the chat screen. I want to thank QLab for hosting us today. QLab is some great partners. Many of you know them, and they can provide you some great training and other consulting services along the way. But they're your guide and your help as you are expanding and developing your personnel and your team. And we don't want to forget to thank them today for their efforts in helping to set this up, to host it, and to keep things going here today. So, well, if there's nothing else, I thank you so much for joining us today. I hope it was impactful. Please connect with me, join me. If you want the PowerPoint slides, we're going to try to send them out to everybody that's on the call today. And don't hesitate to reach out if we can be of help, and would look forward to servicing you in the future. Thank you so much. Have a great day.